Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest on the program. We have Joe Trippi, host of That Trippi Show podcast and senior advisor, Lincoln Project. We got Joe. Good day. Welcome to Indisputable.
Great to be with you.
Thank you for being here. Okay, you have a great plan here, brother. I like the plan. We want to make sure we have more coalition inside of the Democratic movement. We want to make sure that Congress doesn't fall away from the trend that was at least happening. But how do you do that? How do you strategize? How do you plan? How do you get it done? What are your thoughts?
The biggest thing is to get everybody out of this mindset of it's right versus left, it's Democrats versus Republicans. It's all of us in a broad coalition, everybody against an authoritarian movement. And we have to get the members of Congress to do that. I mean, Joe Manchin, the president, everybody, they all need to understand there's no one over there to talk to. They're hostages to an authoritarian movement. And so how we do it is to grow that movement. That's why I joined the Lincoln Project. Yes, there are a bunch of former Republicans. I'm a Democrat, but again, it's all of us, everybody across the board, doing what they can to build this message. I mean, that's the important thing. Everybody out there has the capability of talking to another friend, another neighbor, another coworker, and making them understand that the stakes are exactly that: our democracy, our right to vote, our freedoms at stake, being challenged and threatened by an authoritarian movement led by Trump and a lot of liars and cowards that enable him to do it.
Joe, let me say this. First of all, man, I'm digging the beard, brother. Good look on you.
Thank you.
Secondly, I like the position. I believe we have to start from a policy position. I'm a big policy guy. Sure. You all are doing that in a very similar fashion, but let me highlight something.
Sure.
There are some things that are now called political, and they're not political. They have simply been politicized. And just because something has been politicized does not mean it is inherently political. For example, democracy.
Right.
Democracy should not be really a political argument contextualized through the tribalism of partisan politics. It should literally be above a partisan conversation. But what you have seen happen, and I know you get this, Joe, you've worked with a lot of heavy hitters as a Democratic national strategist. You have seen how our political narrative has become more and more tribal in how we talk about common elements of this country that should really garner support from both sides.
Right, the sacred right to vote should not be anything but an American thing to all of us. But that's the point. So, when you see companies like Toyota, all these corporations that said, hey, we're not gonna give to any of the people who voted to not certify the election. Well, now they're doing it again. Why? Because they still think it's two parties. No, you're either giving to help fund the authoritarian movement, or you're with the rest of us who are standing pro-democracy for the things that are not partisan, the things that should never be partisan: our rights, our freedoms, our Constitution, the rule of law, and the right of everybody to participate and have their voice heard. Not just in our institutions, but in our elections and in making the big decisions that we all have to make for a future.
Yeah, the way democracy is supposed to work, as you know, Joe, voters are supposed to pick the politicians, but the movement you see now, the politicians are trying to pick the voters. But we have had this for a very long time. It's not like it just came. They've been chipping away at this for a long time. Now it has, in my opinion, reached the ultimate conclusion of where they wanted it to go. So now they're openly telling Republicans that are part of the authoritarian movement inside of the party, run for political offices where you can be in charge of elections. We know it's not just about casting the vote, it's also about who counts the vote, right?
Absolutely. That's why all these voter suppression laws, that's why you look at the county level, and state level where they're, the entire party apparatus. I mean, I'm talking from central committees up to, like you said, election officials, all being replaced, purging anybody of goodwill and putting in place, whether it's QAnon or other followers and supporters of this movement. And yes, it has swallowed up one of the two political parties, and that's the problem. We have to stop. The press has to stop doing this both sidism and covering it like there's just disagreements between Republicans and Democrats. No, if there were Republicans, there would be, we could cover it that way. They're not. This is, you cannot negotiate with autocracy. It's a zero-sum game. If the autocrats win, democracy dies. All of us lose our voices, our rights, and the press needs to cover it that. I think start to understand they need to cover it this way, because if autocracy wins, democracy dies. The very first thing that goes is freedom of the press. I mean, it's all kinds of other things that go, but this is a real time for every American, every company out there to step up, the press to step up and take sides, not partisan, not Republican versus Democrat, but all of us stepping up and defining what this is really about, our democracy threatened by an autocratic, authoritarian movement.
So Joe, tell me this, man, you're in this space. Obviously you have insight about what's really happening with moderates and others who may be scratching their head and saying, what the hell just happened in the United States? Is the movement that you're connected to with the Lincoln Project, is it picking up steam? Is it a stalemate? Are you losing support? What's happening with that movement?
Well, the movement's growing, but one of the things authoritarians do, and you saw this with Trump, what they do is they try to exhaust their opposition. They don't, it's so you get everybody to this point where, wow, we got through 2020. Oh man, I'll take a breath before 2022. We cannot do that. We've got to grow this coalition, make it strong, and do all the things that we have to do, register, vote, make sure people get out there and hold everybody's feet to the fire in Washington, corporate America. Everybody has to be forced to take sides. They're either with us or they're with that authoritarian movement. And hey, if there's a company over there that does that, if they want to keep giving to those folks, then we need to call them out and we need to start dealing with it. They're gonna need to feel that that's not gonna stand, not with any of us.
Yeah, at this point, Joe, if you're pro-Trump, you're anti-American, pure and simple. That's what it is. That's what it is at this point. My friend, tell people how they can check out your podcast and follow you on social media.
On social media, I'm at Joe Trippi on Twitter, and the podcast is That Trippi Show. You get it Apple, Spotify, or any place you get your favorite, any of your favorite podcasts, you'll find me there.
Joe, I appreciate you being on Indisputable, man. Thank you.
No, thanks, man. Keep it up.